This is the Jug O Sip podcast.
They're crazy.
Funny.
These people are they're crazy.
And they know it. They know it.
They embrace it. And philosophically, they have their own philosophy, which is where Jesco comes in. Jesco,
him and his weirdly existential awareness.
Right, like
if you listen to him talk, he's saying more than you even realize.
Yeah, Jesco has the kind of emotional intelligence that you do not expect.
It's shocking.
From people who grew up the way that he had to. It's crazy how self-aware he is to somebody who's supposedly so uneducated or undereducated because he dropped out of 7th grade.
It just shows how layered human beings can be, because you can look at someone like Jesco White and see one thing, but there's so many layers to people. Like, it's so much more than you see.
Like his tattoo. Can we talk about his tattoo?
Okay, first of all, the artwork on that was really good. It's not something obviously I would get, but I have to admit the artwork was structurally sound. Now, his tattoo that he got in the documentary was if you haven't seen it, it's a portrait of Elvis next to Charles Manson.
I'm going to bring it up here so we can describe it a little bit easier.
Really cool, like, liquor bottle in the middle with a skull and crossbones on it. A heart with a rebel flag above it. You can look this up, too. You can Google it really easily.
Yeah, you can Google it. Yeah, if you just type Jesco White tattoo, you'll see the famous back piece. And it's
you can't miss it. It's
on
amazing.
The left side, it's a framed picture of Elvis with stars behind him. I guess that's the American flag, just the Star-Spangled part of it.
Yeah.
On the right side
no, it looks like the star part of the Confederate flag, actually, because the Confederate flag is on this.
Well, yeah, the Confederate...
in the heart.
Right. In the middle, there's a liquor bottle with a skull on it, and there's a heart...
A skull and crossbones, to be specific.
Skull and crossbones, right. And there's a heart above near the opening of the liquor bottle, and inside the heart is the Confederate flag.
And
underneath the liquor bottle is the tap shoes that both Jesco and D-Ray use.
And then they're like the banners with their last names.
Right. On the right side, we're just explaining it from left to right. On the right side is a framed picture of Charles Manson, and he's in flames. Now,
with glowing eyes.
Right. Now, initially, it just looks like a cool tattoo.
But it also kind of looks like a piece that a redneck would totally get.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you look at this piece, you have to look at it from the perspective of someone who really is deeply existential, because he explains it too. Like, if you watch the documentary, he explains it. But I feel like we have to explain our perspective on this, because this is a fucking fascinating piece.
Well, let's just talk about what he said. Basically, Jesco suffers from a kind of depression where he feels like he has this duality, which I can relate to, because as a kid, I felt very similar things about myself, having this duality between mood, because all it is a mood disorder. 1 second you're very happy, the next second you're very sad, but there's
it's all a chemical imbalance.
Right, yeah, but there's no external stimuli, so you can't understand what is happening, so you just think there's something up with you, and all you know for yourself is these two sides.
And if you're not one of these people who understands medical psychology, it could almost feel like you're possessed by a demon.
Like Jesco, I was ignorant to that in myself. So Jesco expressed this thing that he experiences in himself as Elvis being in a symbolic representation of his positive side,
like
where he's happy and he loves seeing people laugh, and he just likes to entertain people.
And he's a good singer, and he likes to dance.
That's when he's on his good days.
Yeah.
But when his depression takes over, what he said was he feel like he could just kill anybody and
not feel anything.
Not feel anything.
But it's not because of sociopathy or even psychopathy.
Yeah.
Psychopathy. It's all about the fact that he gets so depressed, he says he feels like the dead would be killing the dead. He doesn't feel alive.
Yeah.
Which says to me, on a psychological level, it's not that he's a psycho. It's the fact that he has a severe level of possibly bipolar disorder or clinical depression. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
And again, we're just going at this at a human level and going at it from our perspective.
Right.
This isn't to offend anybody or anything. We're just making it clear. But, like, it sort of feels like he's so depressed that he feels so numb that almost like killing somebody wouldn't bring him a thrill because he's a psycho, but because it would make him feel something. Anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's not a crazy thing to say, but people with depression understand severe, extreme emotion and pain.
Because they're kind of constantly feeling an extreme
all
sadness
the time.
at
Especially
all
if you're
times.
manic depressive, you are up at 2 a.m. building a shelf, and then at 3 a.m. you crash and you're crying and the shelf never gets finished and you sleep for 4 days.
That happened to you, right?
Something like that.
Something close to that.
Like, that's happened to me a lot in my life. Like, I was never diagnosed with manic depressive disorder or anything like that, but I do know I have a depression and I don't know what it is.
You can find the Jug O Sip podcast on YouTube and Spotify every Monday and Friday.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow at Jug O Sip Podcast on all social media.